G'day Bomber fans, our season is over again for 2023. It's ended in a disappointing whimper for the women's side as it did for the men, but our girls at least looked a more competent side for longer. We made finals for the first time in our history just a year after we were introduced to the AFLW. Overall, it was a really positive season of growth that should have us looking forward to the future. Doesn't mean there aren't any negatives though. I'm going to go through our 2023 AFLW season review. So let's use the same formula as we did for the men. We first go through a cheeky recap. We started as we did last season, actually, and it did for the men. We eased past the Hawks as we've been doing for quite some time in recent years across both sides. We struggled a bit more against the Saints, but got the job done at Windy Hill, which was pumping all year. How good was that to see, seeing Windy Hill up and about? Round 3, I was at this game and it wasn't much fun. Got off to a good start against the Crows, but eventually we were completely destroyed by a far better team. We bounced back with an emphatic home victory over Freo, but on AFL Grand Final day, the Pies had another win, cruising by us to make it 3 from 5 games for the AFLW Bombers. The second half of the year was up and down. We started with a huge win over the Cats, kind of makes the final loss all the more confusing when you look at this result. We beat the Tigers fairly comfortably, then it all fell apart. This was where the season pretty much ended for me. We lost at home to the lowly Eagles. We got a good win over the disappointing Blues after, but then we were belted off the park by the Sun. Should have lost that game by more. And then the final, not much we really need to say about that either. It was not a fun game to watch. It was very on brand for us to make the 8 and get smashed like we did against a team we beat earlier in the year. That 3-goal margin genuinely should be double the amount. The Cats took their foot off the gas late. So that was our season. 7th place, 6 wins, 5 losses. But was that where we were supposed to be? Not really. Expansion teams are always a bit slower to the mark than others. Keep in mind, we are still so young and inexperienced. We are still building our team for the future. Many had us predicted to fall outside the 8, not necessarily in limbo, but not a proper finals contender either. So we were actually ahead of schedule, and I think a lot of it came down to a fairly favourable fixture in many ways. We did play a few finals contenders, but a lot of our losses came against teams we really should have beaten. We only beat one team inside the 8, only played 3, and in such a short season that makes a big difference. We only made finals because of percentage. Not saying we didn't deserve to make the 8. I think if you're in the 8, you're there, you deserve to be there, but we definitely were aided with our schedule a bit. I think we exceeded expectations though, because those expectations were set after our fixture released anyway, and plus it was a really even season. The difference between 3rd and 11 was 2 wins, so we were on the higher end of that little group of teams there. So what did I like about the season? I liked that our defense was trustworthy. We had some handy inclusions that gave us good structure that we didn't have last year. It did get overwhelmed against far better teams, which is a worry, but I look back to those games against Geelong and St Kilda where we killed play for long periods. And speaking of long periods, I think we managed to run out matches better. Last year we clearly flagged late in contests, which is not ideal, but also expected for a young, inexperienced side. And I think despite improving as a team, there were plenty of young players who have levels to go to in future seasons, which will just help that flagging worry that we have. We have Steph Wales, Amber Clark, Paige Scott. They were all really important players and can still get much better with time. And then you have other youngsters like Van der Heuvel who played really important roles. It's good to have a young team performing well that can get better as time goes on. What I didn't like, we were pretty bad at our worst. That final was really poor. The 3-goal margin flatters us. It was 7 goals until the Cats took their foot off the gas a bit. We were a bit too inconsistent, not just in that game, but throughout the year. We went from having a season-defining win over the Cats in the regular season to having a season-defining loss against the Eagles. Our form varied a lot, which is expected, but still not ideal. I think we rely on the impact of a few players too often. I reckon we would be a bottom 4 team without Prasparkas and too good playing. We need more regular contributors in the middle and up forward. Weirdly, our defense is probably the most well-rounded area after it being the opposite last season. What can we improve? I think we improve with experience, so there isn't really a lot that we can point our finger to at the moment. I think we still need to be active in the off-season. Our ruck setup wasn't ideal at times. A lot was left up to young Steph Wales. I think we need another star to rely on as well. It can't just be Bonnie T and Maddie P. Aside from that, it's just stuff we fix over time with age and more games under the belt. We are such an inexperienced side across most areas still, but I think next season we hopefully see even more improvement if our list stays fit. There isn't really much that needs direct improvement, I would say. Finding a grade is always easier when your team meets or betters expectations. I think we did really well to make our first final series in just our second year as a club. We built on last season, improved areas that needed direct improvement, had some big wins, some big losses as well though. I reckon it's going to end up being a B or a B+. I'm going to say B just because the wheels fell off a bit late. We lost 3 of our last 4 games. It was a bit like the men in the end, but overall, a really pleasing season that will hopefully get better next year. And now for the last time, onto the votes. So we end with our votes tally for the inaugural Everything Essendon AFLW Player of the Year award. Merritt won the men's tally narrowly. We also have a narrow winner here. We start from the bottom of the top 10. Georgia G and Amelia Radford only really got their votes from a handful of games, not regular contributors. There is a jump from 9th to 8th. Brooke Walker, the tackling machine, she had 9 votes. Brooke Brown in defence had 11. And young Steph Wales, she finishes in the 6th spot with 13 votes, not far behind the others who I will get to now. The top 5, we have Sophie Alexander and Sophie Vanderheuvel tied on 14, equal 4th for them. Georgia Nanscorn in her first AFLW season, she was brilliant, best on ground for me in the losing final against the Cats. I actually thought she was our best player late in the season. She was a big reason for our improvement as a side in the year. Maddie Prespakis on 29 votes. She was our most consistent player, always so hard at it in the guts, impossible to tag, so strong and fierce, but by 1 vote, the 2023 AFLW Essendon Player of the Year, unofficially, of course, is Bonnie Toogood. She was incredible. Our co-captain deserves an All-Australian call-up. Most marks in the comp, almost most goals as well, for regular season at least. She played all around the ground, so strong, so skilled. She is just a reliable key positional player. She is the Everything Essendon Player of the Year, joining Zach Merritt with the inaugural award. It's the highest honour she will ever receive. I'm sure she is absolutely thrilled if she ever hears about this news, that is. But that is my 2023 AFLW season review. Cheers for watching the videos for those who did throughout the season. There's less of you than the AFL viewers, but hopefully with that good performance from the team, we make those numbers bigger in 2024. It'd be great to see similar amounts of support across both sides. Maybe we can even get the fan vote going next season round with some more viewers as well. That's all though. Well done to both teams for their year. Hopefully we see improvement from both. Until then, like, subscribe, and go Bombers.